McGregor, get your candy ass back to the octagon!
Hey, what's up guys, Hot Pot MMA here, and today we're going to be talking about Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway, right? And before we start, before I say any of my points, any of my predictions, I have to say this, right? We want Conor McGregor to win, bro. We want Conor McGregor to win. All right. Currently it is it's the 9th of July. The fight is in about 3 days. And I just saw an interview with him and this guy named Brownie. He's like, fucking Brownie, how about a brownie after the weigh-ins? Yeah. Conor is back, bro. Conor is back. We are so back, bro. We are so fucking back. All right. And here's the thing, man. We live in a timeline now where Poirier is, he's dipping into the proper 12, and Conor is selling fucking energy water. So we have drunk Poirier and sober McGregor. We are obviously in a different timeline. So in my opinion, I think anything could happen. So I'm gonna start my prediction first. Okay, I think that Conor McGregor is gonna win. This is not like, I'm not saying that, bro. I think Conor might win. I think there's a small chance. I think Conor McGregor is gonna get it done. Can me Mystic Mac the way I predict these things? I think Conor's gonna fucking win. Alright, I don't think that he could win. I don't think there's a small chance he might win. I think he's gonna fucking win. Alright, you can call me stupid. You can call me a Conor victim. Not that way. But you can call me a Conor victim. But fuck, man, I think Conor's gonna win. I really think Conor's gonna win. Alright. We all start with Conor. Like if we all had to be honest here, Conor is what brought a lot of us fans into watching the UFC. And I'm sick of people acting as if they were watching fucking Zabit highlights in the womb. Alright? Bro, stop lying. You watch Conor too. You watch Conor. You know what I mean? I think liking Conor or liking any UFC star is kind of like, liking cars. It's akin to liking cars. Because at first you like the thing that got you in. We all like Conor McGregor because it's what got us in, or if you're talking about cars, you like the 911 because it's what got you in. And then 6 months in, you start saying like, oh yeah, man, I like the JDM GTR, that consumes 9,000 gigabit. So shut up, bro. Stop lying, bro. You like the 911, just like how we all we want Conor McGregor to win. You know what I'm saying? We want Conor McGregor to win. So, we are not hipsters. We have to stop acting like we are these MMA hipsters who we love these obscure fighters that no one's ever heard of. Yeah, bro. I like my favorite fighter is unranked middleweight Zabit Yeti Murgadov. You know what I'm saying? Like, shut up, bro. Just shut the fuck up. So, I'm gonna move on to my talking points, right? So, this thing about this year, am I making this prediction because, partly because of the recent fights that are happening with Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev, or like Ilia Topuria versus Simple Jack? Maybe. I think that's a big part of it. I think recently in a lot of these big fights where we think that we know everything, we are often too confident in our predictions. We are too confident, we are too comfortable in our predictions. We think we know everything about these fighters, so we can make a decision just straight off the bat. Like, we think that we know enough about the way Khamzat fights and the way Sean fights. So we think, man, bro, Khamzat's gonna beat the shit out of this guy, man. Brother, he gonna beat by anything, bro. Shut up, man. All right. And I'm just saying this. I never made a video. This is my first video ever, but dude, I never switched on my boy Sean, man. I put $30. I'm a little broke. I put $30 on Sean, and he made me some money that night. So I think, I think that counts for something. And we have Ilia Topuria versus Simple Jack. Who would have known, man? Who would have known? I think we were too overconfident. It's gone to the point where we have like people like Lucas Tracing, like, hey man, this guy's gotta slip in a banana peel to lose. You know what I mean? Like, he has all these videos where it's like, guys, let's not overthink this fight. Man. Like, he said recently that Max Holloway, that Conor has no chance. Conor has zero chance. Alright? And that leads me to my next thing, right? Guys, if you guys put Conor's resume on basically any no-name fighter, you wouldn't be saying this bullshit. You wouldn't be saying all this bullshit about how, dude, this guy has no chance, man. This guy can't win a goddamn fight. He hasn't fought in 5 years, man. There's no chance he's gonna win. Simply not the case. This is simply not the case. If this was any other fighter, if no-name fighter, you saw his resume, you would not be saying the case, because you see this fight, and you're thinking about the storyline. You're thinking like, dude, Conor hasn't fought 5 years. He's a fucking drunk. He's a drug addict. He's on that booger sugar. But if you look at what really is happening here, we're talking about a former double champ, the first, if I'm wrong, the first double champ, in all of UFC history. You know, beat Jose Aldo, beat Eddie Alvarez, did great against Khabib. Honestly, I think he did the best. You can call me a Conor Glazer, but it's true. He did. He really did do the best. And people are forgetting this. People forget, man. Dude, Conor is one of the most talented, if not the most talented striker in all of UFC history, bar none. Bar none. Name me another fighter who has consistently styled against people at such a high caliber. And I don't mean just like winning in style. I mean fucking styling on them. Have you seen this guy fight? It's been 5 years, but have you seen this guy fight? Have you seen this guy fight? I might actually title this video however many minutes of cope, because it does sound like I'm coping. It really does sound like I'm coping. Right? So I think we are counting Conor out too much, and this is one of those cases where where I think a vast majority of the fan base is counting Conor out entirely. We are counting him out entirely, and this is the same thing that happened with Eddie Alvarez. The same thing that happened with his fight with against Jose Aldo. Every single time we've counted him out, he seems to prove us wrong. Except maybe it could be fine, but he seems to be proving us wrong, and I think this might. I think he's back. I think Witty Conor is somewhere in the back of his head, is somewhere there, but I think he's coming back. All right, now I want to go into the more technical analysis that's a little bit more rooted in reality. So we have to look at the fighters' previous fights. So you look at Max Holloway and you're thinking like, when have we seen a similar situation, both context wise and stylistically? Now, of course, stylistically, we've seen Max fight counterpunchers. We've seen Max fight boxers. We also seen Max fight fucking Conor McGregor himself fucking a gazillion years ago. When they were tadpoles. We call them tadpoles, but when they were younger in their career, before Max was really accomplished, right? And the thing is that now, so we have to look at context. I think that looking at the stylistic clues is one thing, but let's look at the context here, right? So Max has kind of fought in a similar situation where he has moved up a weight class. He has moved up one weight class up, and on, I wouldn't say short notice, but without really acclimating to that weight class. And I'm talking about Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway too. All right, we look at this fight, and the first things that we notice is not, dude, Max is getting his ass whooped. It's not that. It's not really that. Because I do think that Dustin and Max, if we seen in the third fight, dude, Max has the skills. Max definitely has the skills. But I think in that fight, he didn't have the pop. Not only did he not have the pop, but he was carrying more weight than he usually would for a fight. He was slower. His pace was lower. He had less volume. Did I forget to say he was slower? So, you're basically fighting a Max Holloway with all of his best attributes lowered. And I think this is no different, or this is amplified from his move from lightweight to welterweight, because if you look at his move to lightweight, he is now slower than he used to be. I won't say slow. His pace isn't as high as it used to be. His biggest attribute now at lightweight is no longer his volume. It's also no longer his durability. Because we look at the last 4 fights, I'm pretty sure Dustin and Justin both dropped him, and Ilya fucking slammed him out. So, obviously his durability, I wouldn't say has gone down. I just don't think it is as good at this weight class. And I also don't think it's as good at welterweight, because Conor does hit hard. Do I think he has that one-shot knockout power at welterweight? I don't think so. But I think what we're looking at is a fatter, non-acclimated Max Holloway. We have seen this version of him. So it's obviously not a question of do I think that Max is skilled. I think he's skilled, but I just don't think that he has enough power to kind of like get the respect at welterweight. I really don't think that's the case. So you're basically taking all of Max's best attributes and you're stepping it down a notch because he's not as fast. He's just not as quick. He's also not as durable. So that's one of the reasons why. And people don't talk about this, right? But yes, part of the narrative as the reason why people think Max is gonna win and Conor's gonna get slimed out in the first 3 rounds, or the first round, is because Conor's been fighting 5 years. But there is some nuance to that as well. Conor hasn't fought in 5 years, and Max has fought in 5 years, right? Max also has 5 years worth of damage. Conor has 0 years of damage. You know, when you're saying in the press conference, he was like, Max will not lay a glove on me. Dude, you haven't, no one has laid a glove on you in 5 years. You know, you have no damage. This guy has no damage. And I think Max has like a total of 8 hours. He has spent the longest time in the cage of any human being, right? So, you know, yeah, it's a 5 year layoff for Conor, but it's also a 5 years worth of damage for Max, you know? And as much as you want to say, you know, Conor's an old man, this guy's pushing 50. He has a wife and kids. That's true, but he's
37,
Max is
35.
It's a 2 year age difference, and it's a 5 year damage difference. So we're gonna see how that really plays into the fight this time. All right. So here's the thing that I saw in this fight when it first got announced. I was thinking like, this might really be a bad matchup because Max has been super active. Max has been super active, and he's a very proven fighter, right? But I think Conor's a little smarter than that. Conor obviously understands how matchups work. He understands that styles makes fights, right? So we really think he's that stupid. He may have been a little coked up when he accepted the fight, but I think he knows something that we don't. My friend was saying this, right? Like, Conor took this fight too quickly. He took this fight, you know. He woke up, was like, yeah, I'm gonna fight. Yeah, man, I'll fight Max Holloway. Bro, he knows something that we don't. You know, he knows something that we don't. I think what he's looking at Max is that he's looking at a welterweight that has slower pace, that throws less by the way, lower volume, all right, and less pop than the conventional welterweight. You know, I think that's what we're seeing, because if you had to be honest, if you really thought about this, Conor is a great counterpuncher. He's a great pressure counterpuncher, right? I don't think Conor does great on the back foot. He's never done great on the back foot. But what we can say is that I do personally think that Conor is a better boxer. He's a better pure boxer than Max, you know. So that's what I think. You know, I think Conor's gonna be looking for openings. I think Conor's basically throwing against a conventional fighter, a orthodox fighter who's gonna throw less than he usually does. He's gonna throw slower than he usually does. He's gonna be open for so many counters, and we've seen recently Max is more willing to throw. He leads with his right hand every now and then against a southpaw like Conor. I don't think that's a good idea. You know, green trunks to the southpaw. Right, so that's what I think. I think entering clean against Conor has historically been a very dangerous game. It's always been hard. You know, it has always been hard. And say what you want, man, dude. Conor fights like he's in a video game. If you watch any of his older fights, you would have been like, dude, this is a movie? This is a movie? There's no way this is happening. This fake, this scripted. Dude, Conor was like that. Conor is like that. You know what I'm saying? Conor is like that. You know, I really think Conor's back. So yeah, that's just genuinely what I think. He's gonna make Max pay on the entrance. You know what I mean? Every single time Max enters, he's gonna be slower. It's not going to throw as much, so he's gonna be countered. You know, and he's gonna be even less willing to throw if he gets countered. So the other thing about this is also the leg kicks. If you look at the way that Conor has lost in the last few fights, especially Dustin. Okay, let's look at his more recent fights as the reason why he lost. Right, that Dustin fight, right? Especially the second Dustin fight, he got chewed up. His legs got chewed up, right? And I think a lot of fighters see more success when they kick Conor's legs. That is true. Max isn't a great kicker. I think his kicking game has improved. He has a much bigger kicking game than he used to when he first fought Conor. But was he ever like a hard kicker? Was he like known to be a hard kicker? I don't think so. I really don't think so. And especially in this opposite stance matchup where the leg kick isn't there as much as opposed to a same stance matchup, that simply is not the case. To throw an outside leg kick, especially against someone who can counterpunch like Conor, and if you're not known to be a great leg kicker, I don't think that's not a good thing. You know, it's a recipe for disaster, especially for fucking Max. You know, so you know, to end off the video, I just think this, man. I think that, you know, when the betting odds start really looking like, you know, it's a group project, and you know, no one fucking checked the answer. No one was checking the working shit. I think that's when you get, you know, results like like Sean and Kamzat. You know, you see the narrative, you see the two fighters. You don't think about it. You don't think how the fight might play out, and you just assume. You just assume that Kamzat's wrestling is good enough, or you just assume that Max's best qualities will move up to welterweight. You know, there's so many question marks in this fight that we just cannot answer. We cannot be sure to say one. You know, we cannot be sure to just say like, yeah, man, you know, Max is gonna slime out Conor McGregor in the first 2 rounds. We just can't. You know, at the same time, you know, you look at Conor's recent fights, or you look at Conor now. What version of Conor are we gonna get? You know, what version of Conor are we gonna get? I think regardless of what version of him we get, we still have the same talented dude, you know, with the same attributes. You know, he still has the same strengths. So you know, here's how I see the fight playing out. All right, I think Conor's gonna look great in the first 2 rounds, in the first 3 rounds even. You know, I think he's gonna starch Max a few times. I think he's definitely gonna land on Max. You know, but if Conor doesn't put him on the first 2 rounds, I think Max gets a late finish. I think he gets a finish within the 3rd or 4th round. You know, and you know, if Conor really gets starched out by the first round, I would delete the evidence, and people will forget that I said this. So yeah, man, that's what I think, man. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below, and you know, subscribe if you want to see more Hot Pot MMA. Peace.
It's gonna be bad, my nigga.